Okay, here we are, folks. I am on the street. Where am I? I'm in Charleston at Norris and King Street in the heart of old Charleston, which if you just take a quick walk down the street, you can see that it's been gentrified with an Orvis shop and Victoria's Secret and various and sundry pastry shops. It's held the buildings still, but it's an altogether different kind of commercial zone. And standing before me are two gentlemen decked out in their Bernie Bro regalia. They're doing what is really grassroots politics at its most local level. They're walking the streets. Tell me who you guys are, where you're from, and let's kick it around.
I'm Jules Feeney. I grew up in D.C. suburbs, Tacoma Park, Maryland, but I've sort of been adrift since college in Colorado. But I'm down here in Charleston. I'm actually going back to California, but I'm down here in Charleston to canvass for Bernie Sanders.
Are you going back to California for Super Tuesday, or are you going back to California because you want to live there?
I'm going back there because my mother lives there.
Okay. And where?
Santa Cruz, California.
Okay, well, that's probably a Bernie hotbread.
Probably.
Yeah. I live in L.A. I'm from the land of law. And you, sir?
I'm Benson Wells. I grew up with Jules in Tacoma Park, Maryland.
Okay, so you guys are
childhood friends. So we were on a trip, surf trip up in the Outer Banks, and then saw that Bernie was speaking in Myrtle Beach and went to the rally, got excited about the message, and we've just been talking about it, so now we're here to do some canvassing.
Okay, so let's just forget Bernie for a second. You guys are on a surf trip. I got a couple of Brahs here. You're talking to a Malibu dude, makes his home at First Point in Maui. Got a little longboard cross-step action, hanging it out. And what do you know here, I guess somewhere near the Outer Banks, I got guys who have vacated a surf trip to make some time for Bernie. So first, and most importantly, how was the surf in February? You were in surfing in South Carolina?
North Carolina. It was great. He's the better surfer, but he was kind of giving me a lot of pointers on these beautiful waves. There was a pretty big swell at one place, but then we turned a corner and it was just totally mellow. We were the only people in the water surfing with dolphins, and it was beautiful.
So are we talking like beach break, point break, reef, outer reef? Talk to me, break it down.
We were surfing, so the Outer Banks is mostly beach breaks.
Right.
And then at the southern tip of Hatteras Island, there's a little lighthouse on the Cape, and the waves from where they were coming, I think they were coming pretty much from the east-northeast, and they were just wrapping around, and it was pretty much just a sandbar there.
So the hurricane swells that I normally hear about in the East Coast during the fall. So now we're in February. We're February. So it's a different. It's not those hurricane swell.
It's not a hurricane swell, no. But I think it was just that storm that was over in Great Britain. Was sending some swell our way. I actually don't know. That was just my hunch.
And water temp.
Water temp was like Santa Cruz, like low 50s, high 40s.
Oh wow! So it's still cold. So we're talking
cold.
booties and gloves and hoods and that stuff. Yeah.
It was warmer than Virginia Beach where we were a month ago. Okay. Virginia Beach was real cold.
So, I got some Bernie bros. Now, what's Bernie's position on the surf? I really haven't. That's part of a big conundrum for me in this election. Elizabeth Klobuchar, her surf sense as a Midwesterner is a little light. I don't think Mayor Pete's really ever ridden a wave, although he might. Bernie's like a coastal. He was from New York, but Vermont's not really heavy surf. So I don't know. Is there which candidate just on a surf thing makes the most sense for you?
Well, that's not how I decide on my candidates.
Okay, well, it's how I do, but
well, if you did, you would have to go with Tulsi Gabbard.
Because she's from Hawaii.
Well, and she shreds.
She does.
Oh yeah, she was on the campaign trail in New Hampshire, and there was some swell. She got out there.
Oh my God, I have an absentee, so I still have. I did not know that. Barack body surf that got him some cred. Tulsi shreds. What? So she goofy or regular?
I can't tell you. Don't know.
Yeah. So I heard that there was a few candidates out there that wanted to outlaw goofy foot surfers. You talk about minorities that have been, underserved, goofy foot, surfers have really had it rough. I don't know your feelings about that.
We're actually both goofy surfers, so I mean, I'm definitely pro goofy, and yeah.
So I've read where there's some very harsh people that want to do goofy conversions into regular foot people. It's a very intense indoctrination, but people think, no, I'm born goofy. I mean, you have to honor my goofiness, and I don't know what's your feeling about that.
I think trying to convert somebody from something they totally believe in to something they don't is just a bad idea no matter what. So I know I'm sticking to goofy.
You're sticking to goofy. Is Mayor Pete goofy?
I don't know. I
knew a lot of goofy surfers that spent their whole youth in the closet, and it took them a lot of courage to come out and declare their goofiness, especially where I surf in Malibu, where everything's right point breaks, and people don't want to be backside, they want to be front side. And so a lot of people that were born goofy actually were in the closet, and some are coming out, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to talk in innuendo. We're talking about homosexuality and gay rights, and yeah, gay conversion therapy is fucked up. And
okay, it's saying for goofy and gay. Okay, all right. Maybe there's a reason gay and goofy are the same. Okay, good. Well, I'm down. My feeling about that is the price of ignoring who you are is higher than the price of being who you are. So you might as well be who you are. It's hard enough to find love on any basis, so why put restrictions on it? That's been my take, and I grew up in a very horny little hetero bubble my whole life, but I still can take that empathetic leap for people that just got dealt different cards. I got the cards I got. I'm playing them the best I can, but others got other cards. So if you're goofy footed or if you're gay, play your hand. That's my take.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's kind of what we're all striving towards, is a more inclusive world where everybody can be themselves.
Right. Goofy or regular.
Yeah. No matter what.
Goofy or regular. I have the title for the podcast. That's great. So you're going to Santa Cruz because you want a little piece of Pleasure Point. You want that Northern Cali kind of swell action. Is that the reason?
The reason is it's just been, I've never actually lived there, and my mom's lived there for like 6 years.
Oh, okay.
And so, I'm just going, and the surf is a plus.
Okay, and now you guys have been tasked. Have you been assigned a block or a certain section where you're going to knock on doors? What's your task for today on behalf of Bernie and goofy footers all over the world?
Well, we're headed out to the airport, so I don't actually know what neighborhood it is, but it's...
you're going to work in North Charleston.
That's
okay,
right.
So you've got your nav app and you just go.
Yeah.
Well, North Charleston is much more heavily. It's not nearly as gentrified as where we're standing. It's got an altogether different sort of vibe. That's where I was yesterday when they had Reverend Al spoke at a Baptist church with all the candidates: Joe Biden, Mayor Pete, Amy Clow, Tom Steyer. And, maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but they were all there, with the exception of Bloomberg. He was stopped and frisked outside somewhere and didn't make it in. But it was a very interesting. But anyway, that's North Charleston. So it's an altogether different vibe, I think, than where we're standing. How and when did Bernie get your attention and you decide that, you wanted to take a stand and really, stand up for Bernie?
I caucused for Bernie Sanders in Colorado in 2016. And I was a college town, so he had a lot of support in our district. But
is that Boulder?
I was in Colorado Springs, but right in a college neighborhood. So I've been a supporter since then. I did vote for Hillary Clinton because that was sort of the option. And
you're talking about it in November.
In November of 2016, yeah.
And well, a lot of people, I want to just touch base on that because there's been a lot of talk about, as we look back at 2016, that a lot of the Bernie supporters felt disenfranchised when Hillary ultimately got the nomination and didn't really jump on board for her. And that might have been the difference, that allowed for the PVP, by that I mean Putin's vice president, to capture that office. So I hate to say win the election. It just doesn't feel like a fair description of what happened to me. So you actually you were willing to sort of let bygones be bygones and ultimately vote for Hillary.
Yeah, because Trump was the alternative.
Right. Yeah, we're dealing in a real world. And you?
Yeah, I also voted for Hillary in the general. I voted for Bernie in the primary in Maryland. but I voted for Hillary in New Mexico in the general because I had moved out there, and it just felt, it wasn't, I wouldn't say I was excited to do so. I was excited about Bernie, but I felt like I had to because, Trump is a menace.
Right, and that's going to be what's going to happen in the next week or two, no matter what. Clearly not for Bernie because he's, running in the lead, but a number of the other candidates are going to have to quit rather than fall on their spear if, there's a lot of trepidation and nervousness about Bernie. I don't think we need to go over it, but we know what it is. Can he win? This menace that's lurking at, with free housing at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, there's just a huge demand to get him out of there, and people are rightfully fearful of who can do that. And there's trepidation about Bernie. There's no way around it. And I'm sure that's a question that you guys have. A lot of people are in alignment with everything that Bernie has to say, but they're understandably nervous about his prospects. When you get queried by that, or maybe you have, or maybe you will, what do you say to that?
Well, if you look at 50 of the last polls, he's winning in 47 of them. So in polls of Bernie against Trump. So I think it's just an unfounded speculation, honestly. I don't think it's true.
But it's out there.
It's out there, definitely. And I think that it should just be met with facts of he's winning in the polls. I mean, I don't think there's really anything to say besides, look at the polls.
I think that's fair. People, you have polls, and actually polls have failed us, as recently as 16. So people are cautious about polls in ways that they weren't before. I don't even know if that was fair, because I think maybe the polls were accurate and something was manipulated. I'm talking about in the general election. I pose the same question to you. People have nervousness about Bernie. My joke as a comedian about Bernie is if he does get nominated, he's going to be pounded with a hammer and a sickle, by his Republican murdermeisters. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I think the first question is to ask is, why did Hillary Clinton lose in 2016? Yeah, so I'm asking you, why do you think that was? Besides the, the tampering.
The tampering and manipulation aside, I think that Hillary lost for a number of reasons. First and foremost, I'm going to lay it at her feet. I don't think there was one way to lose that election in the Electoral College, and somehow she found the way. And so there was this perceived feeling about her, real or not, earned or not, that she was an elitist, that she was an out-of-touch ace student who didn't care, and she didn't walk the streets that she needed to walk, which was white, middle-class, dispossessed factory workers in specific counties that offset urban votes. And it's like a musician. You asked a good question. They have an ear. They can sense the chord changes. And her husband had a very good ear. He sensed where he needed to be, who he needed to talk to. And Barack Obama was a genius. And for all her qualities, I don't think she could hear those nuances, and that's sort of where the art of politics or the art of campaigning comes into play. Just like a great musician almost hears things that others don't. And I think honestly, I think she had a little bit of a tin ear. She had there were people that had been building a case to hate her for so long. She'd been in the public arena for so long. I think people on a certain level were tired of Clintons. They don't like dynastic politics. They'd had enough of Bushes and Clintons. There was a fatigue factor. And I think unfairly people fucking hated her. I remember having conversations. I hate her. I go, well, okay, I'm not crazy about her. I'm not going to date her, but I don't hate her. What's the hate? And there was this hatred for her that was out there, and I think it had been ginned up over really decades. I don't know if it was all fair, but it was there nonetheless. And I think, that weighed heavily on people. And that's just anecdotal, but I remember having many conversations like that. There's my answer.
And I think that is my answer for why Bernie Sanders can win.
Because,
well, she didn't have her ear to the ground. She was not tapped into the grassroots. She failed on knocking on doors. That's why Benson and I are out here.
Right.
And you say she failed to, pay attention to the working class white voters. And I actually don't think that is, I mean, certainly in those key districts, that is a key,
Right.
those are key demographics, but Bernie Sanders is expanding the electorate. I mean, I think that's sort of the premise of his campaign, is that you activate more voters who were totally disenfranchised by this system. And in 2016, Clinton represented that. And so there was not the amount of excitement. I mean, you look at the rallies that Bernie Sanders holds, the number of people that just show up, the number of people that are willing to get out and knock on doors, the number of people that are just passionate about what he's talking about and what he represents. Sort of this departure from the establishment is a powerful message. And what Benson said about the polls is that it's not just that he's talking about it, it's that he's doing it. He is actually resonating with people in the working class, and he is actually expanding the electorate.
And, you know, I live in LA. The homelessness is everywhere. The opportunities for education and opportunity are harder than ever. People of your age, I don't know your situations, but many of you guys are just you know, carrying huge burdens of student debt, which limits your choices as just a young person and trying to make choices. I mean, it's hard to go into the Peace Corps or take the kind of risks maybe entrepreneurially or ideologically if you're saddled with a mean debt, you know. And so, you know, Bernie's on all of that, you know, and I totally respect that. And he's got a resume that's, well, he's consistent in what he's been saying over a long time. He's not come to this stuff in a green flash, you know, overnight. He's been out there pumping this message for a long time, and maybe it has caught up. Now, one last question. I heard this term Bernie Bros. Some of it's been used a little bit harshly. I got kind of trolled this morning on Facebook by a guy I love, a great comedian friend of mine. He will remain nameless, because of, I just said I was at Pete's rally the other day, or I saw Pete Buttigieg with Reverend Al Sharpton. I mentioned that because he had said something about him. I also saw Bernie with Reverend Al Sharpton. They were all there, and he just came at me hard online. He goes like, Mayor Pete's a racist, dude. And I'm like, come on, man, is he a racist? Is it that harsh? And I kind of looked at his stuff, and he's like, oh, Bernie. I go, it's like, there was a harshness to it that I felt was a little out of line. I think that's been an unfair aspersion cast on Bernie Bros. Maybe you guys can rectify that. And you're not responsible, and neither is Bernie, for everybody that, you know, is for him. So, I mean, but it's a term I've heard kicked around. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I've heard it kicked around, and it's definitely got negative connotations. I think there's kind of a difference between just blind faith in a candidate like we see in Donald Trump, or maybe some people have in Bernie Sanders, and then also just faith in a candidate based upon their policies. And I think I personally am just interested in Bernie Sanders because he just seems to have the policies that speak to me and speak to America the best. But I don't think that I try not to be just completely, you know, Bernie or nothing, Bernie or bust, because I don't think that that's going to be how we continue as, you know, a party or
a civil society. You know, we can take some, you know, we're fascism wasn't just a German problem, it's a human problem. And similarly so, this kind of ideological straitjacket, uncivility, isn't necessarily a Republican problem, although it is now, but it's also a human problem. We're all potentially, in my view, victimized by it. Last thought for both you guys. You're from Washington, Maryland. I guess that qualifies you guys as Yankees. And you're down here in the South, and the tradition of Northerners coming down to tell Southerners what to do is an old one. It's fraught with some danger. It has been. All you have to do is go back to 1964, Freedom Summer. Just your thoughts about that, or have you had a chance to interact and sort of deal with that issue yet here in the South? The cradle of the Confederacy, I might add.
We have not actually knocked on any doors, so we're headed out to do that. And I think, you know, we definitely have to be wary of not telling people what to do and being doing that. And so I guess we'll see. We certainly, you know, didn't really drive down from DC in order to do this.
You went for the surf first.
We went for the surf, and this is kind of the excitement built when we came down here, and so now we're just hoping to do some good and spread the message.
Well, I totally respect, one, that you guys have taken a mid-February surf trip on the eastern banks here, and two, that you're ideologically motivated to go to the sound of the guns, metaphorically, and weigh in on a huge moment. And your thoughts about coming down here and talking to people that there's a gulf in terms of experience and regionality and history.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key is, just because we're from the north and we are in the south, I don't think means that it's inherently sort of condescending. I think it's all in the tone and the way that you approach it, and not to make assumptions about people. I mean, it is hard. I think we all carry assumptions about other people, but to come from a place of really inquiry and curiosity about other people's experience, and to try to find out if we do share, because I think Bernie Sanders, his campaign and his messaging really operates in that space between people's experience, that even with my experience and with anybody that I encounter, Bernie Sanders' policy about Medicare for all, free education, response to climate change, speaks to a lot of people. And I think that actually it's probably a really great way to get to know people, is to talk about Bernie Sanders and his policy, whether they agree or not. We can still engage as human beings.
Yeah, get out of your bubble. Go talk to people. That's, in my own way, what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And in terms of global warming and Bernie, I mean, if the sea levels rise, forget about those sandbars, okay? They ain't gonna be there. You'd be surfing into living rooms of coastal mansions, okay? You'd be riding the waves into like plantation fields if the global warming is as real as we think it is. So thank you guys for your chat. And are you gonna surf on your way back?
I don't think so. I'm still figuring out where I'm gonna depart, because I've got to get back to work on Monday.
And what is the work for you?
Carpentry.
Okay.
So I have to figure out a port of departure, and we're not sure where we're going to be.
Well, thanks, both of you guys. Tell me your names again, and God bless your good work.
I'm Benson Wells.
I'm Jules.
Jules, and I will see you on the surf, bro.
Right,
okay?
yeah.
And if you see this old guy paddling in, throw me a bone, okay? Don't scream me off the wave. Thanks a lot, you guys.
Yeah, thank
Good luck out there. Be safe, drive safe.
Yes, we will.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So a little chat with some Bernie bros on the streets of Charleston, and I'm gonna continue southward towards the Slave Mart Museum, where African Americans began their journey in the New World, not in a particularly happy way. But that was a couple of guys who have come down from the north to break it down for Bernie. They qualify as Bernie bros and surfer bras. So there you have it. This is Bill, your rebel, without applause, from the streets of Charleston, South Carolina. Namaste, shalom, and aloha. Nama shalom.